Welcome to the Meet at the Creek podcast, and I'm your host, Pastor James Jeffrey. If you have questions or comments, send them to mudcreekpastor@gmail.com. That's mudcreekpastor@gmail.com. Meet at the Creek. Sermons, discussions, and real talk. Let's get into it.
Well, I guess it'd help if I turn the microphone up. Welcome in, everybody, to the Meet at the Creek podcast. I am the host, Pastor James Jeffrey. It's good to be here with you one more time. Do me a favor, those of you that are already tuned in, like and share the podcast. That'll help me get it out to more people. I don't know how many people watch on a consistent basis all the way through, but generally there are somewhere around 30 people on the average that hang in there. Sometimes it'll go up, sometimes it'll come down, but got two of my oldest friends, and they're not as old as I am, but they're two of my oldest friends here with me tonight. And, you know, I was thinking today, I was going back in my mind how long I've known you guys. I've actually known Kenny longer than I've known you, and that was hard for me to imagine because it seemed like, especially as teenagers, I spend a little more time around you because of the church and all that. But I've actually known Kenny longer, and boy, we went through some stuff together early on in our lives. It was a lot of people think basketball's easy. I got news for you. That was tough. I went through a lot of things in life. Even boot camp wasn't as hard as basketball practice under Ramrock. That dude was awful. When it come to conditions of practices and those type of things. He loved to turn the heaters on over there in Carter Gym and make us run in the summertime. And sometimes I used to think he set the temperature on hell. It made us practice. But Coach Kenny Hill, the head coach of the Gunnersville High School Lady Wildcats, state champion head coach, by the way. Congratulations on that. I've told you that a few times, but publicly, I know that's a dream for a lot of people to do something like that, and I know that's something you'll never forget. Your family will never forget it. Your players will never forget it. The community will never forget it. I'm sure of that. But also your wife and another one of my longtime friends, Miss Brooke Hill, and Brooke and I go back to Bible Baptist Church in the early 1990s, somewhere along 1992, 93, I think is where I first met you at. You were just a little bitty squirt in the youth group back then.
Singing Two Shoes, right?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you what I remember Brooke singing the most, Kenny, and that was This Old House.
Okay.
Her and her mom and dad used to get up and sing that quite a bit. And I remember the very first time that I ever seen you. I didn't even know you sang.
A lot of people don't know.
And
a lot of people wish that, well, they don't think I can. I could in those days with mom and dad backing me up.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, though, you know, back in the day. We had a wild crew, you know, that used to run back in those days, but not near as great as the crew that Kenny and I used to run with. Man, that 92, 93, 94 basketball, you know, teams we had a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
A lot of fun. I used to get beat up on a regular basis. The Bow Crew, they called themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They used to gang up on me. But I liked it. I mean, I like to do it. I think I liked it as much as they liked trying to whoop on me. Every once in a while, I'd get 6 or 7 of them before they finally got me, but
Talbot came in there and helped you, and everybody quit.
Yeah, and the Talbot was my guy. You know, I think about him quite a bit. We keep up. We speak sporadically, you know, on Facebook and all. And a lot of people don't know this about Talbot. Me and him were the 2 heaviest guys on the team. We were also the 2 worst free throw shooters.
Now, you forgot about the Carlo day.
Well, we didn't have to worry about him shooting free throws very much. He hardly ever did get fouled. He was so lanky, people felt like if they looked at him hard, they was going to break bones. But no, I'm just kidding, man. Smutty was he was rough, man. And I'm gonna tell you this, Carlos Hendricks.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about him. I couldn't afford to bite on a head fake, and he was a master of head fakes because he had that big old long neck, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so a lot of people would bite on his head fakes. I couldn't afford to do that, so I'd never bite on a head fake. And I remember the very first time that he and I, you know, squared off in practice, he said, "You don't bite on a head fake, do you?" I said, "Nope." And so he just went up with a ball like he was going to fake, and boy, he caught me with an elbow right across the eyes right there. My eyes watered, and he went on around me. Boy, I could have killed him.
He had them bony elbows.
He did have bony elbows. It was rough, but down through the years, you know, we had a lot of fun. I still remember a lot of those guys. I see a bunch of those guys from time to time. You know, I still remember Brad and John Greer and Tubbs and Kelsey was there with us. He was a year older than me. Shannon Hammonds. I tell you, a guy I ran into not long ago. Well, it's been about a year ago now, and I almost forgot about him even being on teams with us. Was Shannon Jones.
Shannon Jones, yeah.
And man, I always wish if I'd had just the hair of his talent.
He was very talented.
Man, that dude could fly. I've never seen anybody could just jump like that. Personally, until I, you know, went to see college games, and then those dudes could jump over the rim. But man, I've never seen anybody that could jump like that. So I got you guys here with me tonight, and I promise y'all, and I've promised my listeners and watchers and viewers that I'm going to actually shut up for a little bit and let you guys tell your story, because part of the reason I even started this initially was so that people could see and meet people who were influential in my life and people who are influential in the community. Last week with Robbie, I got calls for 4 or 5 days after it was over with, even saying, you know, I didn't know Coach was involved in this or that or the other. And that's the reason that I, you know, have a desire to do this. And I've been looking forward to having y'all on, because here in a few minutes we're going to get into some old stories, and we'll talk about some other things. But we'll talk about some serious stuff too, and we'll try not to be controversial if I can help it. But I do want people to come away kind of knowing who y'all are as people, as individuals, as a family, what you love about what you do, not just in the coaching, but also in the teaching and just the influence part, because anybody that knows what you guys do, we already know, but other people may not know. And you both are in different fields in the education system, so you have different stories to tell, and I think it's important that people hear them. So at this time, I was supposed to play theme music. When Kenny came on.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I was a pro wrestler, this is what I would come out to right here.
You know what's worse is I can still remember the words. A lot of people don't know that I aspired to be a gangster rapper one time.
Yes, sir.
And actually thought I had a career, you know, and it's an amazing thing. How did our favorite line of the whole song went? What was it? This year Halloween fell on the weekend. Me and Ghetto Boys went trick or treat.
There we go.
Hey, that was great. I promise I've been telling everybody. A lot of folks don't know this about me, that I love all genres of music. Some people think because I'm a pastor that I just listen to gospel music, and that ain't the case. I love all kinds of music. I grew up listening to music. Music was therapy for me. You know, I went to work with Greg Bell so I could play music. I've always loved it, and I love all kinds of it. And man, some of that stuff just carries me back to a better place in time. mentally, a time when the world was a better place and people, treated each other better, and stuff like that. I'll never forget robbing little kids for bags.
Yeah. Me and Chris Dawes used to sneak back in the back room and listen to it. And I remember his brother, who has passed away now, used to be like, he'd tell his mom, "Hey, Mama, Kenny and Chris back there listening to that bad music. You better get them."
People used to love to tell on us. I remember when Coach Kirkland, the first time we ever got to play music. I think you had already moved up to varsity, or at least you was on JV. You might have been a freshman, but you played varsity as freshman too, didn't you? You came in
sophomore.
Your sophomore year.
Yeah.
All right. So, but at least you were up on JV because they I don't know who brought the speakers in and all, but they played MC Hammer, Too Legit to Quit, and
I think it was my daddy's speakers, to be honest.
Them things was huge. That's all I remember. Man, it was loud. They set them up right at the end of the bench, and man, Coach just sat over there the whole time shaking his head. He hated it. It was just one of those things that I look back on it and nobody played music.
No.
We were some of the first to do it, and I don't know how we ever talked him into it, but he probably regretted that.
We was one of the first teams to wear all black shoes too.
Yes. We had so much fun back then. We'd make people uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
We would absolutely, and we loved it. We thought it was funny just to make people. Now people will cut you over it, but I was looking the other day at an old team photo that we did with Coach Vincent.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Where Manuel was the manager.
Yeah. Him and Tubbs, and all of the black guys went on one side and all the white guys went on the other side. We did it on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Vincent made us run in the bleachers about 35 minutes for doing that. He didn't catch it when we did it. We laughed and laughed and laughed. Man, there's just stuff like that we did all the time. We had nicknames for Coach, and he didn't know what it was. And every time we say it, we all just snigger and just laugh and carry on. And what y'all laughing at? He never did figure it out, but Lord, he killed us all.
Oh, yeah. Coach Vincent.
The man of 1,000 plays.
Oh, yeah, he had 1,000,000 of them.
He did, man. During the varsity games when he'd be assisting, Coach Kirkland would call timeout just to work the refs, and Coach Vincent would be out down there drawing out plays. It was great. It was a lot of fun. But anyhow, I'm going to shut up right now. We'll start with you, Kenny, and come around. And if y'all want to talk together, that's fine too. Part of your story is going to intertwine a little bit, so that's fine with me too. I'm excited to hear a little bit more of it. I know a bunch of it. I know much, more than most people, but some of it may be new to me. So feel free to enlighten us.
Well, we moved around a lot since I've got into coaching, and we started out at Daphne High School. I was blessed enough. Steve Savarese gave me my first job, and he held me to some of the highest accountability that you ever want to be held to. Matter of fact, he held us to such a high accountability. I was like, look, I love him. I learned a lot about coaching from him, but I never want to work for him again.
Yeah.
But he held you to the highest accountability. I used to go out and watch his football teams practice, and learned a lot. Like a lot of basketball coaches are not going to say that they learned a great deal of how to coach from watching football practices, but I did. And that first year I was there, Daphne won state, and actually played for another state championship in the 4 years I was there. So they were really good. But I kind of in my career have always, for whatever reason, been attracted to, or maybe it was just coincidence, but I've always went to programs that were struggling. Never really took a job at a program that was already winning and solidified and anything like that. And I guess that's just kind of my thing. And when I first went to Daphne in 2001, that program was really bad. And, really bad. And I didn't know-how to fix that program. But I was able to coach with a guy that's coaching in college now, Deion Lawson. He's the assistant coach at Coastal Carolina, not Coastal Alabama Community College down in Bay Minette. And the other guy I coached with there was Cedric Yeldon, and he's the head girls coach at Coastal Alabama Community College. So, those are the first two guys I really coached with, and we went through struggles together. When I tell you we went through struggles, about 90% of our team played football that first year, and they wouldn't stay. We didn't play our first game until December, and we ended up only playing like 18 to 20 games just because the season started so late. And but we went through struggles together. When I tell you struggles, I'm talking like 2 and 24 seasons, things like. And we had athletes, we had talent, but it was just a learning process, and like it was miserable. But at the same time, it was some of my best days because I really learned a lot about coaching and about just the fact that really, like, you're not measured, or you shouldn't be measured. No coach should be measured on wins and losses. You need to be measured on the impact that you have on the kids that you coached. And I'm telling you, to this day, I still talk to several guys that I coached at Daphne. I got one he's doing life in prison, and I ask about him all the time, and I know he's never gonna get out, but he was a guy that came to our house when me and Brooke, first year of our marriage, came to our house, helped us do some painting, helped us do yard work. Really, really good kid. Just ended up in a bad situation at the wrong time, and I was blessed to have the 4 years that I had at Daphne. When me and Brooke got married and she finished her degree and came down there, she worked 30 miles away in Grand Bay, Grand Bay at Castleton. Castleton Elementary, I still remember. And she rode with a lady that was probably in her 70s, 60s. They carpooled, the whole year. But I just remember, like, going to Coach Steve Savarese and, like, Coach, my wife's been driving, 30 miles every day over into Mobile. Any way we can find her a special ed job over here? And he was like, special ed? Definitely. That day he called me back and he said, you tell Brooke to go over to the, I think was it Daphne East? Where'd you start? Yeah, Daphne East Elementary or something like that, and tell her that she's going to meet the principal and tell her this is not an interview. She's going to find out what her new job is going to be.
Yeah.
And when he did that, and I just was like, I'm forever indebted to Steve Savarese and what he did for my career. Although I never worked for him again. Like I said, he holds you to the highest accountability, and that's good, really. And he was just a great boss, and like he showed me what like the grind really is, and that you put your players first, and you hold them accountable in every situation, no matter if they like you or not. You hold them to the highest accountability. So those 4 years in Daphne was really good for me.
We saw him last year at the beach.
Yeah, last summer we saw him at Orange. He's moved to Orange Beach. We ran into him at a breakfast lounge or something like that.
He must have liked Kenny too because he kissed him on top of his head.
Yeah.
He rubbed his head and kissed him.
He sure did, and I'll be honest with you, I did not like it. and it kind of shocked me, but it was, But that's Steve Savarese.
Yeah.
That's
He's
Steve
a good
Savarese.
guy. Good guy.
Every football player that walked in the hallway at Daphne, they had to come up to him and give him a hug and say, "How's your day, Coach Savarese?" And he say, "Good. How's your day?" Whatever his name was. And he just had a system in place. He did a great job, and he did a great job on our as executive director of AHSAA. But my time came up short at Daphne, and I left and went to coach for Albert Wheaton Jr. And that's probably the best, just all around coach I've ever been around. some people may not like how tough he is on kids and his coaches. I know Brooke didn't like it sometimes, like, man. But I'm telling you, that guy was a great coach and probably should still be coaching, but he went into administration, principal at Lochapoka, one of the best principals, athletic directors in the state. So I tell you, my career, I've been blessed with just working under and for great people.
You know, I think that's underestimated in any job, the kind of person that you're working for. Some people will go all their lives and never actually get to experience what it's like to work for a really good boss. I say this a lot right now, and I've had some good bosses in my life. I'm working for at the solid waste now, and Stacy Lidwell's the director out there. He gets so mad at me for telling people this, but he is I mean, he don't care that I tell stuff because it's just the truth, and the truth's easy to remember. You know, today we stood in the office. He and I, we had a heated disagreement. I mean, it was heated. But you know, he went just walked away for a few minutes, thought about it, came back, and said, you know, you're right, but you're not right. You know, and he just reminded me that he's the boss, and it's okay. But he understood that my objective is to make him look good. And my job is to do, even if he doesn't like it, to make the best outcome for him. And you know, he's got 100 things happening, and I got about 10. You know, so I have learned that if I know it's going to be better for him, you know, for me to withstand that and say, no, I can't do it. Like, I just can't give you what you want. Once he realizes that what I'm doing is going to work out better for him, you know, he does that, and it makes him a great boss. He challenges me mentally, emotionally sometimes, but at the same time, he's very understanding. He goes the extra mile when I'm struggling, when things are just snowballing on me, like they have been up here this evening. He's very forbearing, and he understands what it's like to be in the trenches and putting in the hard work and trying to get to a certain place. He understands all those things. So I always have a certain, and I always try to share that with people. I have a certain level of respect for people who are in positions of authority now, even when I don't necessarily agree with them. That's right. Because at the end of the day, they gotta be responsible for what they're doing, and I don't. If I wanted that authority, I'd be doing that. I remember a few years ago. I ain't gonna name, but I remember it was something happened. We were on the road. I was helping Greg, and one of your players got out of line, and he had to be corrected.
What were you in A-Rab?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, I knew why it was happening. A few other people knew why it was happening, but boy, woo! I mean, you just thought to yourself, gosh, I don't want to be that. I wouldn't want to be that guy right now. But to his credit, he took that. He showed back up the next day. He went back to work. Ended up being very productive. You know, those are things that I've learned down through the years that people don't see out of good leaders. Good leaders don't hold grudges, man. They just don't do it. You address things as they come up, you deal with them, and you move on. And, you know, like that this morning, I was fully prepared to do exactly what I was told. I just wanted him to hear me telling him that there is a better way to do this. Yeah. But at the end, but if you say no, I'm going to do it exactly the way you told me to do it. But you'll look better if you do it this way.
There you go.
You know, and so after he went away, he came back, and he's like, you know, you're exactly right. I appreciate it. And let's sit down and look at. And we ended up doing it the way that I suggested. That ain't always the way it goes. But at the end of the day, it's his show. And I like to say it's his world. I just live in it. You know, he hates when I say that stuff. But it's the truth, really, when you're dealing with things like that. That's a lesson that I learned from Coach Kirkland. You know, way back in the day, he used to have those preseason meetings, and he'd say, "This is my team, and this is your team." You know, he loved us, and we loved him, and we loved each other. He demanded that out of us to be good to each other, to respect it. We stuck up for each other. We didn't fight each other. Those were things that, man, you know, you just don't see it anymore. And I miss that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I really do. I can remember going through some tough times, man, and you brought up Talbert a while ago. He probably don't remember any of that stuff but he used to let me spill my guts, man, when I was going through some real bad stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, every day at the end of practice, he and I would sit over there and shoot free throws, you know, for like 35, 40 minutes. After everybody else done be gone, we still be in there just shooting, just me and him. And I'm forever indebted to him just for being an outlet for me. You know, he had no idea what I needed. And he used to talk to me, too, you know, about things that was going on in his life. And I probably know things that, you know, he don't even remember that I know.
Yeah.
And I never talk about him, and as far as I know, he never talked about it. But as I got a little older, especially after I got in the military, you know, I realized that, this is just, this is not, I don't want to be in charge. I never wanted to be in charge. I never aspired to be in the position I'm in now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's difficult. And you know, when, I guess me and Dawn been married about 3-4 years. You came by our house one day, and you were just, I mean, I wasn't even saved at the time. I'll just be honest with you. But I was asking questions, and you were asking me questions. I felt about that tall because I couldn't answer nothing. And I was like, you know what? I hope she don't ever come back over here because I felt pretty stupid. And, you know, but stuff like that, that never did, and it still don't bother me. I don't know what it is, but I love to be around smart people. You know, I just learned a lot from them, bouncing, just having conversation.
So that's why you put Brooke right there closer to you.
Well, I'm not going to tell everybody why she's in the middle. We'll let her tell everybody here. Just yeah, we're both getting stabbed.
I do remember that. I do remember that night in Arab because I know Brooke cringed in the stands, and when I got back. That's back when everybody was still riding buses and the team and all of that. So she's like, Kenny, you can't be doing that.
Cringing that we're discussing this at the moment. So yeah, I was cringing that night for sure.
Yeah, so she was like, you just can't be doing that.
But we can say that we ran into that particular person not too long ago, and I mean, there's a good relationship there. So so you know.
People that handle things like that, you know, you learn. My Uncle Jerry, I know you've never met him, and he would shank me if he found out I said this live, but I say it in the church a lot of times. He used to tell me, and he's told me all my life, and he still says it today. If you really want to find out what kind of person or what kind of man somebody is, take your hand, open it all the way up, go back as far as you can go, and smack him right across the face.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll find out who he is. And what he's saying is, I'm not condoning physical violence.
No.
I don't want to be canceled. What I am saying,
and
though.
You didn't slap anybody.
No. But if you translate that into how we challenge people today, it's verbally and emotionally.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, how you do that as a coach, and how I have to do that sometimes. In management, have to do it in the church sometimes. You have to look somebody in the face, and you have to basically say, you know, this cannot go on. Not one more minute. This is not yours. This is it's my responsibility. If you can't do it the way I'm asking you to do it, then I'll have to find somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
And how somebody chooses to respond to that kind of rebuking is, it tells a lot about what kind of character they have as an individual and whether or not they're willing to put other people ahead of themselves. And somebody who's willing to put the good of everybody ahead of the good of themselves, them's the kind of people that you want in your organization. Them's the kind of people you want on the floor. Them's the kind of people you want on your team. Those are just the kind of people you want around you.
Yeah, and you talked about rearing back, slapping somebody, and all of that stuff, and it made me think, like, really, in life, like, it ain't really about physical toughness. It's about mental toughness.
Absolutely.
I mean, are you mentally tough enough to make it through life and whatever life throws at you? And that's something I preach to my team all the time. I mean, I'm known. I mean, kids talk about it when I see them. I guess last month I was walking out of Buena Vista, and there was B.J. Harris, Sam Cobb, and Jordan Davis. And me and Brooke were in separate cars, and Brooke left, and I think 2 hours later I made it home.
Yeah.
And we sat out there, and we just talked, reminisced, and they was telling me stuff I had forgot. They was laughing about when I would tell different players on the team, you just mentally weak. I'm not going to be able to coach you. And they were just telling all kind of funny stories, and I was like, that's really what it's all about, is one day you can sit back and talk about it, and you may not even remember the games. All right? They'll remember they went to the Final Four and all that stuff, but they're going to remember the times they spent together.
Yeah.
And they was talking about one time, and I used to be really hard on a kid named Micah Kreitner. I loved Michael Kreitner, though, but I probably didn't show him that I did enough. But I always stayed on him. Well, he had got his license, and he had an old red. It was a throwback car. I can't remember if it was a Fiero or a Corvette or something, but they were redoing the gym floor to the way it is now. They sanded it all the way down, repainted everything. It was during that time, so we had started doing everything at the rec center. So we'd leave 4th block, headed to the rec center. Well, I'm about to walk out, and here comes Michael Kreitner in the Retcom parking lot doing a donut. And I hope his daddy ain't listening, because I never told his daddy that. That was just something like, hey, I'd handle this. I'm not going – it's between me and you. It's this coach-player thing. I handle it right here. I ain't going to go tell your parents. All right? But we don't want you to do that again. Well, they were laughing because they was like, man, you don't remember because the names of those streets, and I had forgot. I would make them run, like, from the rec center to the junior high and back. And they said I was out there fussing. I do not remember that. They said I was screaming. And BJ was doing it just like me, like he does. He used to do all these TikToks, and I didn't find out for like 3 years later that he did TikToks making fun and poking fun at me. But he said, you don't remember when you said, Mike? I said, Micah, I'm just disgusted with you. You ain't even made it to King Street yet, and everybody's back. And they said, so you went in there and you told, they said, I don't know if you meant it, but boy, we were scared you meant it. And I said, if Michael Kreitner touch a basketball, everybody running. He better not touch a basketball. And we sat out there and we just laughed. I mean, like Sam was just dying, just crunched over. We were just telling stories, and I was telling them how half the time I'll just be messing with them. I wouldn't even be serious about it. And, man, right there in Buena Vista parking lot just a month ago, a little over a month ago, I mean, I sat there with, three guys that I coached them all the way through their junior year, and I left. And sometimes kids feel some type of way when their coaches leave. Like, it makes them mad. But I think I was honest with them. They understood it, and they still remember the times we spent together and all of that. And it was just kind of enjoyable to just sit there and talk to those three guys right there in that parking lot, and they remembered so much that I had forgot about.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's all about.
First time I came with Greg to help him do radio, because I still go help him on away games when I can. But we came down to Gunnersville. I couldn't help myself, and I said, you reckon they make Coach sit in the chair that he used to throw out on the floor.
That was a hard transition because, we did not like Gunnersville at all. And now we're supposed to be like, go Wildcats. And, it might have helped that my daughter was, wearing the uniform a little bit more. But that was a tough transition time.
Yeah, it was tough for me. It was, and we'll probably get into that later with, how I left, when I left, why, and all of that. But, it was tough because, like, you got to realize, like, Miss Mabry, Roseanne Mabry, she was the principal there that got into it and was mad at Knicks when their fans was, poking fun at him, and they had the right to kind of be mad, I thought. Brady Robertson's grandfather, put him out. And it wasn't enough to put him out. So it was friction there. And when I went over there to interview, she kind of looked at me and was like, whoa. And we kind of looked at each other because we know, and, she hired another guy, and he turned it down. So I really didn't get the job. And I went in and told my principal I was staying. And as soon as I did that, got an alert on my phone, checked my email, and it was Roseanne Mabry. Coach Hill, can we sit down and talk? I will drive to Scottsboro. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'll drive over there. So went over there, and she basically, it wasn't an interview at this point. She basically said, the job is yours. And I went home and talked to Brooke. And then I talked to Briley, and I told Briley, like, this is what I'm going to do. You have a choice of what you want to do. And you can stay at Scottsboro or go to Gunnersville, but this is what I'm doing. And I kind of looking at her like, you need to tell me something now. And she said, you go on and make your decision. I'm going to take my time. I ain't ready to make my decision yet. So I really went not knowing if Briley was going to come. Actually, I took the job there 100% thinking she was going to stay at Scottsboro. And, a leap of faith, really, she came. And, it worked out for her, worked out for us. And, she's got her friends here and friends over there. So she really increased, the amount of people that she knows and has friendships with. So it was really a good move for her. And she didn't really come. She really never told us why. But she just made that decision. And I had told her, like, I had watched her freshman year. She was a good JV player, but she didn't play when she got moved up to varsity. So I was like, you probably be on JV over here. That's what I told her. I said, you'll probably be on JV. And then we had our first practice, and I saw something, and it clicked. And I said, this is why Gunnersville has only won 9 games in 3 years total. And this is why they're currently on a 13-game losing streak. I had a girl that had 2 sisters that left Albertville and come to Gunnersville for volleyball purposes with the idea that they were going to give basketball up. They were done with basketball. But I talked to them. It was like, hey, I saw that y'all played. I talked to Patrick Hardy and said, y'all pretty good. Y'all need to play basketball. They said they'd give it a chance. Our first practice, a Scottsboro girl and an Albertville and 3 Albertville girls practiced harder and did everything tougher than everybody in the gym. And right then I said, well, them 4 are going to have to play varsity. And I knew then that Briley was going to be a varsity player, and it went from there, and it was real positive for her. So I thought she made a good decision, and we didn't push it on her. I kind of think I don't even know how Brooke felt about it, to be honest. I know she was fine with me going because she really gave me the okay in 2018 when I told her I was going to step down in 2018. I actually was going to step down in 2018, and I'm glad I didn't. But she was like, she was good with it. But I was glad I didn't because I built a relationship with those 3 guys I talked with at Buena Vista, and built a real good relationship in that 2019 season with Heath Phillips, his father, who passed away, and Butler Bell and Nate Bolaware. So, I mean, it was real positive, and sometimes you feel like, hey, it's time to do something different or something, and it just ain't time. And you just got to be patient and trust your heart and trust the guidance that you get from the people around you.
I noticed Coach Denton Johnson joined the watching feed here. He
DJ.
He put in a little emoji. He said, "I believe that's a goat."
Yeah, that's a goat.
Yep, that's a goat.
He used to he coached with me. He came to Enterprise at a time, didn't have his certification, but they worked it out for him to get his master's and certification at the same time. Great guy, great coach, been to the Final Four more than any alum ever in the history of Scottsboro High School. We had to get Greg to fact check that, but I think he's been to the Final Four more than any alum in the history of Scottsboro. I think he's been 5 straight years. He's really good. And I've told him, I said, you need to come back. And let me say this. I know I coach at Gunnersville, but I'm a black and gold Wildcat. And, that's who when I retire, I'm going to go to Scottsboro football games, Scottsboro basketball games, Scottsboro softball games. I don't really watch baseball, but I go to a Scottsboro baseball game. I go support Josh at Scottsboro soccer. I mean, that's where I'm going to be when I retire. I'm a black and gold Scottsboro Wildcat. I work at Gunnersville. Gunnersville has been great to me and all of that. But at the end of the day, I'm a Scottsboro Wildcat. Brooke definitely is, because they offered her every job under the moon at Gunnersville, and she ain't take one of them at all. And even when I was like, go ahead, so we don't have to drive. But that's been good. But getting back to Denton, I'm kind of like Greg. I studied the history of Scottsboro and how they do things and all the coaches. And I'll be honest with you. And if you look back and you study it, and this is me included, Scottsboro has really never hired a basketball coach really that has had a great resume at the time. Like, I did not have a great resume. Like, if on the resume, they could have found hundreds of coaches better than me. I had only been a head coach 2 years when I got the job at Scottsboro. You look at every coach been hired, really none. Well, there's going to come a day when the job's going to be open. And my vote is going to be for Denton Johnson, and he'll be the first head coach that Scottsboro's hired probably since. And I don't even know if Coach Carter had a great resume when he got hired at the time, because his career was so just getting started. But it'll be the first time we be able to hire a coach that has a magnificent resume. And it doesn't mean that he's going to do great or he's going to do bad. You look at the last 10 years. I was coach 7, Jason's coach for 3 years, and you've had the best 10 years in probably since the 60s. The best 3 years since Pat Trammell. Just being honest, since Mike Linville and Sam McCamey. So, but what I'm saying is, I think Denton Johnson, and it just came to my attention, I think that guy, one day down the road when Jason Bell decides to, to hang it up, I think Denton Johnson will be our guy. And I'd love to see it. And I know he's sitting there. He probably sending me a text now saying, "Hey, I'm a city guy. I like teaching in the city and living in the city. Don't be saying that and doing that to me, Kenny." Yeah. But I had to do that since he got on there.
For the record, I'm with you on that. I hope that happens at the time.
I like to see alumni coming home.
I do too. I asked you. I ran into you somewhere before you came back, and I asked you when you were going to come back, and you said when the situation is right.
Yeah.
It needs to be the right situation for me to come home. And you I hate when people do that stuff, leave it open-ended. He said, "No, sir, we would come home if the opportunity is there."
Oh,
Ooh. Look at him. I mean,
Don't put it in writing.
Making headlines here on Meet at the Creek. That's what I'm talking about. Man, that's how you get good ratings. I'm watching the numbers go up as we speak.
Scottsboro City Schools in general, I mean, has produced some really good educators, coaches, administrators. You know, look at Quentin Lee with all he's doing, you know, one of the top superintendents in the state. I mean, we've got a lot to be proud of as Scottsboro Wildcats, for sure.
We really do. You know, you said something earlier, both of you did, you know, your transition to Guntersville. I had the same thing happen to me when I came up here, when we started Mud Creek. 10 services into this ministry, Joseph Hollis came and visited, and they stayed. And I mean, he was here 5 or 6 weeks before I knew that he was the head football coach at North Jackson. Just the kind of guy he was. I mean, he was nice. We talked. He didn't wear any gear. I didn't know. I was doing PA I didn't know it at the time, but I was going to be the PA guy for Scottsboro football that year. Wanted that job for 25 years. I've been lobbying to get that. I even asked her to have you let me do the PA for the basketball games. You just never would buy. You like Vegas better than you like me, and that's okay. I forgive you. I'm just kidding.
Hey.
I know, man.
Oh, Vegas.
I know how it is. Tavares still calls me Vegas, and one of these days I'm going to shank him for it. But anyway, when he would come, and we were still having to have church outside, and he'd say, preach, I need you to pray about coming up being the chaplain for us. So I started going up and preaching to North Jackson on Fridays. I'd drive from Scottsboro up there, preach to the team, and then drive back to Scottsboro and do PA for the football games. And then that rolled into basketball, which was what I always wanted. I wanted that more than I wanted football because I love basketball. And I remember I always thought the best PA guy Scottsboro ever had was Ron Bailey. I loved to hear
Ron was good.
I loved to hear Ron do PA, and me and him saw a lot of things differently, but we value. He saw doing that job the exact same way that I did, and he put everything he had into it, and always said if I ever get a chance to do it, that's who I want to do it like, and then when I did, that's exactly who I still try to do it like. And last year, oh man, I butchered a kid's name, and it drove me insane because I normally would always go and make sure I knew how to pronounce everybody's name, and I butchered that poor girl's name, and I hated it so bad, and then it ended up being a train wreck of a game after it was over with. But I said right then, man, I'll never do this again. Whatever I was doing was not important enough to not get up and take the time to do that. I should have done that, and I kick myself every day. But back to that before, last year I'd stepped down as PA guy for football and just to do the chaplain for North Jackson. I got called Taylor to the traitor everywhere I went, but everybody did it. They knew why I went, and they would all laugh. It was a joke. And the most amazing thing happened is really I worried about it more than everybody else did. Mm-hmm. I think it was harder the transition was harder for me than it was for everybody else.
I know, like I truly believe had it not been for COVID, I probably would have never left and took a job somewhere else. And I kind of knew, like, just from a financial standpoint, that the only school and then driving distance, like Guntersville was the only other place I would go, or I would stay at Scottsboro. And I tell you, it was when Brad left. And he left in the middle of the school year, about around December of, I think it was 2018. It could have been, 2018. But, like, that got me just to thinking, like, I mean, if Brad is getting out of here for whatever reason, you know, and he hired me. Like I said, you mentioned always being, you know, you're a debt to Stacy Ledwell. Well, Brad, you know, at the time he hired me because the first time the job came open, Coach Kirkland came back and coached him, and then Glenn Haynes got the job. But before that, Dr. Berry had offered me that job, and I had pretty much said I was going to take it. I hadn't said it officially, but it was pretty well known, like I'm about to take the job. I came up and did the interview with the committee, and it's just something about a committee. I just kind of like talk to one or two people and be done. But I did the committee thing, and we got home, and I just remember, like, I just wasn't feeling it. And I mean, Brooke was hurt, but I just remember her mama. She was tore to pieces.
I'll never have this opportunity.
I mean, she was tore to like, man, it was like a Christmas Day and you got every gift except the main one you wanted. That's how she was, and I felt bad, like, dog, should I have taken it? And it was just one of those situations where it just wasn't the right time, and then boom, it came back open. And when it came back open, I was already about to take the Huntsville High job, and Jason Haas had already set that up. He was the athletic director at Huntsville High then, and he was already had it set and ready to hire me. Me and him been talking about 2 months, and I was trying to set everything up so that Denton Johnson could be the head coach of Enterprise. I wanted my assistant to get that job, and so everything was working, and then boom, Glenn Haynes, you know, he resigns, and Brad contacted me, and I came in, I guess one day during the midweek, and it wasn't an interview. We just talked, and he pretty much said it was yours. You know, I know you've done a good job at Enterprise, and he told me exactly what the program needed. He told me the players that they had, all of that stuff, and it just hit home with that one-on-one. And don't get me wrong, I mean, the 7 years I was there, well, I think me and Brad were together there 5 years, 5.5. We didn't see eye to eye on everything, but there's a mutual respect, and you know, I owe him a great debt because he didn't have to hire me, and it was at a time where our program was going on probation for illegal recruiting, and at the end of the day, I didn't do it, but I'm the head coach, so I take the responsibility. And one of my assistants got, you know, banned from coaching for a year and all of that, and so it was a time where, you know, I really needed to stay at Enterprise, but this thing came around 2 times, and I told myself, if I'm gonna take this job, then my goal is to leave it in good shape so that the coaches many years after me will be successful. And I kind of looked at what Coach Esslinger. I mean, Coach Esslinger was so good that every coach after him has won state. Like, that's how good he was.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just and that's kind of, you know, not at his level, but I wanted to just build the program back because you start reading and looking at the history, and no area championship since '98. No winning seasons. I think they had a couple of 12-12 seasons. They had a 13-12 season the year before I came. Coach Kirkland came back to try to, you know, kind of bring the '90s back, and I talked to him about that, and that's something he'd have to share. But he just was like, this ain't the same. And I talked with him that first time, and then when I talked to him that second year that it came open, he said these words, and this is only something Coach Kirkland would say. He said, he didn't tell me to take it, and he didn't tell me not to take it. He said, if I was a man in your place at your age, he said, I wouldn't be scared of that job. And I knew what that meant. And so I took that job and ended up having to coach against him, and that was tough. tough to coach against him because I knew we was gonna beat him because of the team we had and the team he had, and it just didn't really feel good or feel right. But every year since I've been at Gunnersville, he's come over to some games. I still look up to Coach Kirkland. He's my coach. He's my guy, and you know, he seems so happy to see me coaching. But not just that, to see LeBron Kraft as one of my assistant coaches.
Yeah.
And who, by the way, is a basketball genius.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I say, there's one thing about it. I said, I've been coaching 23 years, 22, getting paid, and 1 year volunteering. And I said, Kenny Hill ain't never won a state championship without Bradley Hill and LeBron Kraft. Yeah. I say that all the time. Right. So that's how much I think of LeBron Kraft.
Paper was the first player that ever made me want to quit basketball.
Paper, and that's LeBron's nickname, yeah. Paper.
And you know, and I know Coach Kirkland was a genius too because I was so uncoordinated. You know, we used to have to do that drill. He'd line up on the baseline, and the ball handlers would always be on the baseline, and we had to line up and play the defense. You know, and Coach believed in getting palms on the ground. You know, you had to stay down there the whole time, and you know, it was just shift. Paper would always make me fall down. I mean, I didn't hate him for it. I knew he was doing what he was supposed to be doing, but I hated him for it. Man, I get up and just cry. Well, I'd be so mad I'd be crying.
Yeah, he's probably the smartest player that ever played in a Scottsboro uniform. I mean, you got to think, this guy barely could touch the rim. He probably would have run a 5.4 40 if he got out there and ran it. And he played with glasses on. And I'm telling you, he averaged 24 points his senior year. His junior year, he had averaged 17. And, I mean, he's one of the – I mean, he only played varsity 2 years. And he's on the 1,000, you know, point club. Like, how many people scored 1,000 points in 2 years?
I think that what I remember about him was the way he anticipated – everything that was going to happen. You know, he'd be running up the floor. You know, Brad or Jeff would be they would come up the floor with the ball. But LeBron always managed to be in the right place. He just anticipated what everybody else was going to do, and he'd do right the opposite. And he'd just be open almost every single time down the floor. I've never seen anything like it.
And if you don't remember, we added to his nickname because back then when we was coming through, the Detroit Pistons was the team. And they were the emerging team, and Joe Dumars was a special player. I mean, his ability to shoot and all that stuff, and wasn't very athletic. So we started calling LeBron Paper Dumars. And, I mean, if you say Paper Dumars, if you just say Dumars, he's going to respond. Matter of fact, our next practice, I'm going to tell them girls, I say, look, y'all call Coach LeBron. I want y'all to start calling him Paper Dumars.
You know, those guys, we were right the opposite, you know, as good as Detroit was back then. I mean, they were bad boys. They had Flip-Flop and Joe, Smoking Joe, and then Isaiah Thomas, you know, ran – they were great. I always loved to watch.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. And, man, they were tough. They just beat you to death. So physical. We were right the opposite of that. You remember we got those jerseys that said running Wildcats. We were
running Wildcats.
Like UNLV. We just wanted to run fast break offense all the time. It was the craziest thing I ever seen. But I couldn't run. I just remember that as like, I'm going to die. You know, right here on this basketball floor, I'm going to die at a practice. I just knew one day I was going to die in there. And, well, man, gosh, we had so much fun. I look back on all those days, and they just make me real glad that I grew up, you know, in the time period that I grew up, the people I got to meet, the things we got to go through and experience together. Yeah. Just stories like that. I've been sitting here thinking, you know, of all the we talk about influence and how, you know, making a difference and those type of things. And Brooke sits over here and don't say a whole lot.
I was laughing, Dawn. Your wife just says, you were right. They both can talk. Because I said, I'm sure Kenny will out-talk him. And he's doing it.
I mean, it's okay. That's okay. But I really was thinking there's Jeff Tubbs joined in. He and I reminisce a little bit when we have time as well. But
you talking about Gangsta Pat?
Yeah. I forgot about.
Hey, y'all leave my former boss alone. He was good to me.
He's been good to everybody. He's all right. But I was thinking about Brooke back here. You know, you have a different kind of job, working with special education. And I can tell you, you know, just here at the church, we have a few, you know, special needs kids. I honestly, you know, I struggle, and you know, I want to do good. I want to be better at it, but I struggle because I don't have what it takes to be, and so I realize that's a special calling too, and you probably have about as much, you know, influence in our community as anybody does. You deal with a very special group. I don't know how you do it, but I'd love to hear about that because I think the whole world could benefit from knowing a little bit more.
Well, in high school, I had the opportunity to work with a student that had moved to Scottsboro City Schools, and I felt I was the highest paid teenager at the time because I was getting paid $9.10 an hour to work with him. And really developed a special relationship with him. He did have a diagnosis of autism, which was something that I had never really been around or understood. And that little boy changed my life for sure. He definitely set my pathway in front of me. Him and his family, they were good to me. I babysat a lot over the weekend, and they just lasted here for a short amount of time. And I have no doubt that God had placed them here just for me to know what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I did that job once I've got that degree, and took me all over following Kenny around with coaching. And I've been blessed. That one job I did get because he was a coach, but every other one, I feel like I'm a pretty good sped teacher when it comes to it because I love the kids. A lot of people say, how do you do it? And I said, you know what? I said, if you stop and you think, I said, we're all one car wreck away from being where someone's taking care of us.
Absolutely.
And if you just stop and if you think if it's you or if it was your baby, how would you want them to be treated? And I think from that point forward, you know exactly what you got to do. And sometimes that's the nitty gritty, the things you don't want to do. And I've been blessed to work with some amazing paraprofessionals that have guided me through a lot and helped my room run smoothly. I've had some great administrators throughout my time. And the kids are I feel like they're the most precious gifts from God. And if you are treating them like you're yours, that's the easiest way to do it. And it's the most rewarding job for sure.
Absolutely. KJ's watching.
Oh,
Your dad
boy.
said he's watching.
Oh, that's great. Hey, KJ.
It's not school time yet, so he's probably not.
It's going to be rough when he has to get up in the morning. I can tell you that.
Did you hit anybody at practice, KJ? That's all I really want to know.
Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch him play. Man, it's going to be great. So, let's switch gears just a minute. You know, I know you guys, you're members at Center Point.
Right.
And so, have y'all been at Center Point since you came back to Scottsboro?
Yes. Correct.
There's a story to it. When we're in Enterprise, Enterprise is my second home. My former point guard, we talk all the time. Rhett Harrelson is the head coach now. He won state same year I did, 2022. And we both coached the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game. He was the boys' coach. I was the girls' coach. So we got a tight bond. I tell everybody, if it wasn't for Rhett Harrelson, I would have never got the Scottsboro job because he was the reason we were winning at Enterprise. He was the number one reason. I was a young coach, just trying to figure it out, and this kid was special, 5'9", 4-year starter at Western Carolina, Division I. Special kid. And, and I owe him that. So when we were at Enterprise, one of my things with Brooke was, look, Brooke, I said, look, if we move back to Scottsboro, and I don't know if she want me to share this or not, but I'm going to go ahead.
I never know what's about to come out of his mouth. So here we go.
Don't feel the same way.
Yeah.
But I said, here's the thing. We ain't going to be going to Centerpoint. And I said, we're going to go to a black church. And she said, okay, if the job is yours, you take it. She was like, yeah. And here we are. That was 2013. So 10 years later, I've been a member since 2015. So it ain't always your plan. It's God's plan.
At that point in my life, I was like, if you'll go to church, hey, wherever you want to go, we'll go. And the Lord worked in our lives in a lot of ways. And sometimes it takes putting people on their back to make the decision that they know they need to make and to follow Him. And I believe with all my heart, every single thing that lined up in our lives is where we put us to where we needed to be.
Yeah. Just because I know you, I remember when you became a different guy. Mm-hmm. I remember when when your whole life changed. I do remember that because you used to comment on some of my stuff.
Taking his Facebook away was the best thing he ever did.
Hey, I've been in Facebook timeout for like 8 years now.
I need to go. If it weren't for the stuff that I do, otherwise I wouldn't be on it either. But I know, and sometimes, man, I just last week I did something real stupid, and I took the blame for something that I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. But
I wrote you a text message and deleted it.
Golly, I mean, it was awful. I don't even care to say it out loud. I heard a song come on my Pandora radio, but this is how stupid I am. I heard a song come on my Pandora radio, and it was by a guy that I don't even really like. I may know 5 of his songs. But it's a song about I'd rather go to hell as I had, go to heaven if I can't coon hunt in heaven. It's ridiculous. I thought it was blasphemous. I ain't listening to that garbage. No, that's just my choice.
Yeah,
I'm not having a record burning or anything like that. I don't care. What everybody else does. But I'm bad about saying things like that. It just comes out of my mouth before unbeknownst to me, about 20 minutes before I make that post, dude releases a new song. Got a video attached to it that's very controversial. You'll never convince anybody that ain't what I was talking about. I had no idea. Somebody went to text me. They're like, "Have you?" No. Do you need to watch it? And by the time I got back to my Facebook post, it was out of hand. I learned a very valuable lesson that day. I probably need to keep my opinion to myself a little bit more. But I also learned, too, that, tolerance works on both sides. We grew up in a time where everybody just, if you didn't like it, you just
put your dukes up.
Yeah, you throw fisticuffs and it'd be over with. We live in a much, much different time. I'm still having trouble adjusting, to this new way of doing and thinking. But the thing for me, man, is the truth's going to always be very important to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Relationships are always very important to me because I value those. Anytime I lose one, it hurts. And I know people think that it don't hurt. It does. It hurts me. And whether I caused it or whether it's just a big misunderstanding, it got plumb out of hand, I apologize 15 times for it, but I can't make you, believe it. And just no matter how hard I try. What I can do, though, is learn from that now. And I learned a lesson from it. From here on out, if I'm going to do or say anything, I'm going to investigate it a little bit more, or I'll just be more specific. I could have been just a little bit more specific, but I'm bad about being just vague because I like conversation starters. And I wanted to have a discussion about doctrine. I didn't want to have a discussion about that. It's ridiculous. But
one time, James, I had posted something on Facebook and somebody came back, and it was like a picture of a jet, like in the sky, and it was forming a cross with the clouds behind it. And somebody came back with, "You really think that's God giving you a sign?" And I was like, I really wanted to pop off so bad. And like Kenny, a long time ago, he implemented a rule with like parents, talking to parents. Like there's a 24-hour rule. Like he's not going to talk to you for 24 hours. That gives everybody time to, kind of calm down and you really think about what you're going to say. And so that particular day, I was like, you know what? I am not going to write back. I'm just going to let this go. Somebody else will get them on there. I ain't got to say it. And I'd be doggone it if we didn't walk into church that morning and that guy was sitting on the front row. Never been in Center Point Baptist Church in his life, and that I know of. And there he was. And I thought, you know what? Right there, I would ruin my testimony in 2.3 seconds if I would have let him just have it. And that was a big eye-opener for me, especially with my Facebook posting.
I don't, and that's the thing, like, I tried several different times to explain it, but everybody, these things, I don't know what it is. I don't even know how to fix it. This place that we've got to, in this time we're living in, where there's an attitude, well, I don't like the way you do this, or I don't like the way you say that, and the next thing that you just hate me. If you have anything negative to say, you just hate me. That's not true. I don't believe. A lot of people disagree with me, man, but they don't hate me. Right. And I don't even take it like that. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. I really, it's hard for me, especially doing what I do. And I realize, that I stand in front of people. But I made a very long post afterwards because I took a lot of heat. And some people said some ugly things, and some people said some stuff that they needed to say. Some people said things they've been wanting to say for a long time, just never said it. And I get it. I'm a big boy. I can take it. But what really hurts me is when people will say things like, well, that my words carry a lot of weight. And that's not true, exactly. And I get what they're trying to say, that I'm just like you guys. When you're in a classroom, you have a position of influence. When you're on a basketball floor or in a classroom, you have in the church, I've got one. So they are people. But, been in church a long time. How many people actually do what the preacher tells them to do? I never did. And I realize that some people do that. All I'm basically doing anyway from week to week is giving people something to think about. That's what I'm trying to do, is give you something to think about. How many times that applies to me blows me away. I say this a lot of times. 2 weeks in a row, I've worked all week long. I spend 20 to 30 hours on a message in any given week. 2 weeks in a row, I hadn't been able to even really get up and preach because just the way things go. God work in a different way, and just get up and share the gospel and get out of the way. I'm finding out now, the older I get, it hurts more when people decide that they won't have nothing to do with you no more, or they're so mean to you that you can't have anything to do with them. Just because there's a time and place that all of us, no matter who you are, how much you can take, none of us are Jesus. And, man, I've been accused of a lot of things down through the years that if you really know me, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. The thing I struggle with, like when we first came back and going to Centerpoint, is I just had the wrong idea about church. Like I thought church was for perfect, just this perfect Christ-like person. And I just didn't ever feel like that ain't me. I mean, and people say this, but when I look in the mirror, I know I'm looking at the biggest sinner that I know.
Yeah.
All right. And so I just didn't really understand that, hey, and then you'd hear people say stuff like, I don't want to go to that church. They just full of hypocrites. Well, hey, hypocrites need to be in church.
Yeah.
And a sinner like me need to be in church. If not, then, you never know where you will spiral down to. And once I learned that and understood it, Like, I know, like, hey, when you sick, you go to the doctor, all right? You hungry, you go to a restaurant, all right? We're all sinners, all right? The flesh gets us. You have to, you go to church so that you can be better. And like you said, your job is trying to just put a thought in your mind that, hey, I got a decision. I need to do better this week. Like, I don't need to cuss at my basketball team this day or the next day or the next. And then you get conviction when you do something wrong, because we're all going to do something wrong. And like I said, we're going to all fall short of his glory, because there's no perfect man. It was one, and we know who he was.
Absolutely.
And once I came to grips with that, I mean, I was good. I mean, my Sunday school teacher is a former heroin addict. So, like, that's perfect for me, because I'm sitting there like, hey, we all in here together like a team in Sunday school class. And we all know that we been sinners. We still sin. And we're just trying to do better on a daily basis and be a better Christian. And once I learned that going to Centerpoint, it really helped me with just knowing that I need to go to church every Sunday. There's no perfect people in there. There's no 100% sinless person or anything like that. And that really, really just that's the thing is when we came from Enterprise, and I told Brooke that, I was like, shoot, I ain't worthy to go up in that church with all them people. That's really what it was about. And it's amazing as you get older and you start thinking about things, although we still make mistakes, you do things and you try to do things the right way. And like I said, Brooke, like a lot of people say you have a better half, but she truly is my better half. She's guided me through this walk, held me accountable. She knows me better than anybody. And she knows, like, Kenny, you don't want to go to church, but I'm gonna stay on you and make you. And I mean, it was a time like we didn't really go, and she would go by herself. And then finally, in Enterprise, we started going to Hillcrest Baptist Church, and that worked out pretty solid. But she joined. I never would come to Centerpoint, and she finally went up, and I never would. And then one day, me and Mike Campbell, a guy that has become a really good friend of mine, we do church security now. We both went down the same day, and we was both going through the same thing, and just a sinful life, but just needed that little push, that little bit of confidence to accept Christ and strive daily to do what's right. And then when we fall short, repent, pray about it, and try to do better the next time. So, like I said, I mean, Brooke, I mean, without her, I probably, and I know it's all God, but I mean, I wouldn't be going to church at all. I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna tell you, there ain't nobody on this earth prouder of you than she is. I remember, she and I were talking. We were at Gunnersville. Matter of fact, you were still at Scottsboro, coaching then, and you were telling me about, how much the Lord changed, Kenny, and how you had just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and then the day it happened, it was just, you were just it was almost shock, it was just almost shock how immediate and how just, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It just almost fanatical. It was just a radical change.
Correct.
Yeah, it was a radical. That's a good word.
And in Galatians, I believe it's 6:9, it tells you, do not grow weary, and keep on. And that was a lot of years and a lot of praying, a lot of things that people, might say, wow, you lived through that kind of thing. And I just feel like God used me, my family, our faith, and in leading him towards Christ. And couldn't ask for a better husband in Christ for now. I mean, He's the one. Get up. What are you doing? I never thought he would be saying, let's get up. Let's go to church, but we're there, not perfect by any means, and definitely make mistakes, but we know that you know, the foot of the cross is it's fine. I mean, we're all there, so
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely. You know, it's an amazing thing to me. I know down through the years, I've shared this with you guys before at your grandfather's funeral. I think actually, you know, I can remember the two people, and I shared it with Robbie, and I tell it. I mean, I tell it over and over and over again, and I hope someday these two people will come on my podcast. But Becky Russell and Jerry Kirkland, a teacher and a coach. You know, without those two people, you know, and I got great family. I got a grandmother that's out of this world. I mean, she is the best woman next to my wife. She's the greatest influence, you know, on this planet in my life. You know, I wouldn't be who I am without her. I wouldn't be who I am without my wife. But without Coach Kirkland and Becky Russell, those two probably wouldn't have anything to do with me today. That's just, that's how important, you know, that was. I think I told you guys that is that, you know, I really felt like you guys were going to go on to influence a lot of people, and the road's been a little bit, you know, lofty to get there. But it's pretty obvious that you needed her and she needed you, and together you guys are. I called you a power couple today. I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty funny myself. You know, I'm good with words like that, but
I thought we was in a Tyler Perry movie when you said that.
Well, 20 years ago we could have been. We're all a little too. I fell up here earlier. I'm too old to be in any kind of stuff like that. I bleed too easy now, but
I do believe that every single child that has been in our paths, whether we've taught them or he's coached them, and their families have been placed by God in our lives. And there's been, like he was talking about with Heath Phillips and his dad, you know, that was a God thing right there. And Uncle Chris had some influence on him. And, you know, we know that he became a man. He had some salvation before he died. And that, you know, I like to think sometimes that somewhere along the way, God used us, not glory to us by any means, but he used us as a vessel, you know, to lead people to salvation.
You know, that's a thing that I learned about right about the time my granddaughter died. Then my mom, you know, got sick, and it was just, you know, there in about a 10-year stretch, we lost 17 family members. And I remember Joe telling me, you know, we were down at UAB one morning, and it was one of those long days, and he said, we were talking about that, and he said something very, very powerful to me that day. He said, you know, we have got to stop deciding other people for other people. If they're willing to make that decision, then we got to figure out a way to back up and let the Lord do the work.
That's right.
And you know, if we get out of His way, there's no telling what kind of change He'll make. I actually got to experience that here when we came here. I don't remember how long ago it was. You guys, y'all popped in one day when we were here working.
Where was we coming from, Brooke?
Chattanooga, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think we went to see my aunt.
Yeah.
And you know, that first year and 7-8 months, almost 2 years actually, it was not the first 18, 19, 20 months of this place. It was really different. It was good. We were growing. People were coming. But I had a pretty rough crowd. I'm talking about the hood side of the kingdom kind of crowd. I mean, they would throw up holy hands, you know, on Sunday, and then they would throw hands, you know, on Friday and Saturday. But one of those people teaches our women's group now. And, you know, I say, I'm not saying this in a derogatory way. I say this to everybody. I know people can think whatever they want to think about me, but I have learned that God gets to decide who, what, when, where, how. The best thing I can do is be available. the best ability is availability. Be willing in any and all times, just like you said. View every opportunity as a chance to share the gospel, either verbally or, through your testimony or through your life. You may be the only Bible some people read. I'm not King James, but I'm more like a leprechaun James. I don't have. Sometimes I feel like I'm about to figure something out, about to figure it out, and then I realize I don't have anything figured out. And the best I can do is just the best I can do.
Well, that's a lot, like you said. Like you just kind of give them over to God, because I thought I could save Kenny many, many years, and when he joked and said that I joined without him, I did. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. And when I got up in front of the church that night, and I asked them, I was like, y'all got to pray. I was like, you've got to pray that the Lord brings him to where he needs to be. And he done it. I mean, he did it. He did it. And I couldn't do it. So you do.
I remember telling you, hey, don't be putting me on no prayer list without my approval.
Sure did.
I was upset for a little bit.
Oh, sure did.
But isn't that exactly, though, how all of life goes when we how our perspective about things changes, when our worldview changes, really.
But on the outside looking in, people saw, well, he's a driver's ed teacher. He just took a group of guys that hadn't won, and first time in school history, took them to Jacksonville with Spencer, and that was in 2015 with Spencer and Tavares Tolliver and Matt, not Matt Pace, but Brady Robertson. All those guys were freshmen, and all that was going on, and it was exciting. And went to Jacksonville, one area in front of a packed house against Albertville. The line was all the way down to the baseball field because we had no clue that many people was going to show up. Then we beat Oxford in the sub-regional game in front of a packed house. And everything just looked like it was just great if you were on the outside looking in. But at the end of the day, I just knew that something was churning in me to do things better and live a better life and be a better example to my players, my kids, my family, and all of that. And like I said, even today, it's a daily thing that you gotta choose to do it daily. Mm-hmm. And some days, some days I don't. And that's when you got to get back in church and say, hey, I'm falling short. I gotta get back right and do the right thing. And it may be something as simple as you walking down the hall at school and something don't go your way, and you pop off at another teacher, and now they like, oh, he's a jerk, and he was posting Bible verses yesterday.
Yeah.
So you just got to be wary of that, and that's the thing with me. I try to daily rethink it because it's like she said, you one car wreck from somebody taking care of you. Well, I'm one parent meeting from forgetting I'm saved. And that's kind of how it is.
We laughed Sunday at church, actually. Gosh. See, you never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
That's why it's gold, man. This is gold. I'm getting all kind of messages that people enjoying this thoroughly. It is absolute wonderful. Most people are just terrified to talk and just not be real. That's why I end up talking so much most of the time, because I'm trying to get them, to say what's on their mind. But I think people value that, I really do. It's very refreshing in this culture that we live in right now. It's very refreshing when people are willing to tell you the truth and they still love you. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that somebody can disagree with me, and it happens quite regular. Stand and have a near face-to-face, almost nose-to-nose argument, and then go eat lunch. I think that's beautiful. That's what makes it. I don't want everybody to be thumbs. I don't want everybody to be pinkies. I don't want everybody to be bird fingers. I want everybody to be who they are. You know, when people come here, that's my very first rule: be yourself. I can't deal with you if you're somebody else every time I see you. Be yourself. Let me figure out who you are, and then I know how to talk to you. I know how to approach you. I can help you. If something needs correcting, I can figure out a way to deal with it. You know, if I know about you, you know, the last thing in the world I want to do, and I find myself so much better at it now than I have ever been in my whole life is I can take a lot more criticism than I used to take. I handle it. I may not like it, but I do take it to heart. And if you that text message that you deleted, if you would have sent it to me, I might not have liked it. I don't even know what it said, but I might not have liked it. But I can guarantee you this: I would have read it. I would have thought about it. I probably would have responded. Probably in a very politically correct way, you know. But if somebody has something that I recognize is valuable to how people are going to remember me down the road, I think it's important to listen, you know, when people especially when people reach out to you privately and they're saying what's on their heart. You know, I respect that because that takes a lot of courage. That's something that a lot of people don't do. Is you know, if you got an opinion, and I you know, I always say that, man. You know, feel free to talk to me. Tell me how it is. You know, if I know you feel a certain way, I mean, I at least I know how you feel. You know, I mean, when I do respond, I'm going to respond with that in mind. You know, because if I value my relationship with you, I'm not going to respond to you in a way that's going to try to drive you away from me. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to try to figure out a way, even if it means I got to peel back on what I think, keep it to myself, or just let it go. You know, whatever I got to do. If I really value that, I'm definitely not gonna respond, you know, negatively. But I've learned in the last look, and I know you guys have too. When people get upset at you, you find out who loves you and who don't love you.
That's true.
You really
That
do.
is true.
It's like coaching. And really, coaching and preaching are so similar because
it is.
think of how many jobs are there where when you're on your job, there's an audience watching you and really giving you a mental rating system of how well you do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and that's what happens. I mean, you do your job all week, prepare your team, or you do your job to prepare your message. Then you come in on Sunday and prepare, and you preach that message. We go and play that game. You know, we play 30 games in a year. Year we won state 30. We were 30-5. We won play 35 games, but we practiced and worked probably 200 and something days or more, and maybe more than that. We practiced a lot, so it may have been close to 300 days of practice, and that's the thing you have to deal with as a coach or even a preacher is that look, nobody really cares, like, honestly, about what you do in preparation for your job. They care about those results.
Absolutely.
When they get to see you. And people will say, it ain't about that. But if it wasn't about that, why do we keep score? Right. And that's the thing you have to deal with really as a coach is that you got to understand that you may be doing everything possible that you can do, and you may be out working. You know, it may be a coach at Winthrop that's coaching a football team at Winthrop that's out working Nick Saban and doing better, but he's not going to get the recognition because Saban is at Alabama bringing in 5 stars and winning national championships.
Right.
And that's just the nature of this of coaching and really preaching. You know,
I don't. You know, I always was, I guess we all aspire to level up. I'm at a place now where I'm trying to level down, and people don't understand it. You know, they look at me like I'm crazy because I'm not looking for nothing else. You know, I'm where I want to be. I'm doing what I want to do. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I'm not trying to be a mega church pastor. I'm not trying to do that at all. Matter of fact, I hope it, well, I shouldn't say I hope it, I mean, the Lord will do what he wants to do, and I'm going to be here till he tells me to do something different. But if I had my druthers, I'd rather be where I can stay connected to people, because that's very important to me. It's hard to do that and keep a job, you know, do the other things that I do, stay active in the community. You know, I don't do anything for money. A lot of people think I do. You know, this PA stuff I do, I don't take no money for it. I just like doing it. I get a lot of self-satisfaction for doing it. All the work, extra work I put in, I just do it because I like it. I don't take any money for being a chaplain. I feel called to do that. I don't have to be paid to do something that I enjoy doing. I don't get paid here. I'm not bragging. You know, it's just, I say several reasons, and some of them are good reasons, you know, but the main reason is I've always felt like a hireling a little bit, you know, but it's just something that I felt convicted strongly about. But it really was birthed in me when I first got asked to do weddings and funerals, because people will try to pay you. They'll say, how much do you charge? I don't. If I can't do it, I'll just tell you I can't do it. You know, but I'm not going to put a price tag on it, because then that opens me up to the whole providing a service kind of thing. And, you know, if I can't do it, and I tell you I can't do it, but you got your mind made up that I won't do it for X, Y, Z, you know, then you're going to come after me for it. And so I just don't ever take any money. I never, that basically cures all that. And now, you know, I just really feel like by leveling down, and it's kind of our theme, you know, this whole making much Jesus idea. It's an idea, but it's in the Bible. You know, John the Baptist, I must decrease that he might increase. When I really got a hold of that, it totally transformed my life. I mean, and it didn't happen overnight. I mean, it started happening in 2012, 2013. I was in Tennessee at the time, pastoring it before I came home. And then my time in Scottsboro, 5 years, it became more and more and more this burning desire to do different. Yeah. You know, in a lot of ways, I did disservice not only to the people that I pastored, but to myself by not doing it sooner. Should have done this a whole lot sooner. It's what I was supposed to do. I knew it, but I was the only person who knew it, because I wouldn't tell anybody else. I told Joe. Joe knew about it, but it was about it. But once it started, there was no doubt in my mind or anybody else's mind that once it got started, the Lord began to just send me people, just like you were saying earlier. I got a whole crowd of people that had been either put out or left because they got hurt or run off or misunderstood. Next thing you know, I got all kinds. You know, I got, it's basically almost a mixed multitude, really. You know, I got different ethnicity, different race, different ideas, different church backgrounds, different denominations. I mean, it's just coming, everybody. And it was all these things. And I realized something. They're chasing the same thing I was chasing. Just a place to be, a place to come and feel like, you know, when you're here, you know, nobody's looking at me. We got millionaires and fixed income people. Can't tell who's who most weeks. I'll just be honest with you. You don't know which ones are which. And I think that's the most beautiful thing in the whole world. And I love it. I love to go in somewhere and be able to feel, you know, like I fit in just as well as everybody else does.
Kenny got a shirt the other day, and he wears it a lot now, and it says "Seek Discomfort."
Yeah.
And I thought, what a crazy, shirt to wear. But he truly, I know he was saying I was his better half, and I've guided him along in that area. But a lot of times I'm very selfish. I mean, I'm my only child, and, I've always got my way. And there's a lot of things I struggle with that. And Kenny is a very good example of that. He can wear that shirt, and he can mean it. And that's
I agree, Brooke.
They say, there you go, right there we are.
But all my players are the girls that they want a Seek Discomfort shirt, and so we're gonna get some, Gunnersville Lady Cat shirt, and on the back it's gonna say Seek Discomfort. And our big thing is I tell them, look, wherever you are uncomfortable, that's where you need to go, just in this game, but it's gonna carry you through life. And I say, like, some of you can't dribble with your left hand. Matter of fact, most of you can't dribble with your left hand, and it's embarrassing to me that I coach y'all. That's kind of how I talk to them, and they get it now. They know it's sarcastic, and but I said that's discomfort for you. That's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I said do it until it becomes comfortable. I said I took a public speaking class one time at Mercer University. It's the one class I passed at Mercer, by the way. And I hope my daddy ain't listening, because I still been living that lie, telling him it was hard and the professors was tough and all that stuff. But it was uncomfortable for me. I know a lot of people saying there ain't no way, but it was uncomfortable for me in that class. But what I did in one of my speeches, we had a guy on the baseball team. He had a pet ball python, and I did a speech on reptiles and snakes, and I did it with that Burmese python around my neck. And because my mind was on that snake, it allowed me to be comfortable in really an area where I was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of our team motto this year, is just seek discomfort and battle. And it's just one of those things. And going back to what you said that you kind of leveling down. I thought about leveling up after the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game. I coached in that. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was really nice to coach a group of girls that you could just put something in one time, they can do it, but they're all stars. And I was like, college would be really, really fun to coach, because, I mean, kid, you go recruit what you want, and these kids, every one of them can play and do what you want to do. So I had put my name in the hat for the Snead State job. It came up in the girls' job, and I'm just like thinking about it now. I'm just glad that I didn't get that, and I was a finalist for it. But I'm glad today I didn't get it, because I'm at a point too where I'm thinking about leveling down. And I tell you what, I came in and told Brooke. I said, "Guess what, Brooke?" She said, "What?" I said, I'm the Scottsboro A-team Pee Wee football defensive coordinator. And she was just like, "Are you kidding me?" And I mean, and I think that's leveling down, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, I'm enjoying that. I mean, as much as I enjoy coaching varsity basketball and just coaching young kids and maybe leveling down and just helping an aspiring head coach with his middle school program or something like that. And don't really care where it is, as long as I don't have to drive too far, because Brooks, she ain't leaving Scottsboro, or Hollywood, or whatever you want to say. So I get that. I really understand leveling down and just doing something because you love it. I mean, shoot, I do something like that. Like, we don't get paid in that, but I'd help somebody with a middle school or something 2 or 3 years from now, and you don't even have to pay me. Take that supplement, put it in the basketball account or the football account or whatever. And I mean, I totally get leveling down. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it has been very refreshing to me. I wish everybody could kind of experience. It's almost like my grandmother talks about retiring. She loves being retired. She used to wake me up every morning, 5:15, 5:30. She was throwing water on me, whatever she had to do to get me up. She couldn't understand how I enjoyed sleeping so much. Well, now she don't get out of bed till 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. And, getting up for church is a struggle for her. She'll come in sometimes and she'll be still trying to get the sleepy out of her eyes. And I laugh. I enjoy watching her enjoy this season. And in a lot of ways now I've realized that if I'm really going to enjoy it, and no, I mean, I've done funerals now in the last few weeks, 4 of them. 3 of them have been people 3-4 years younger than me. None of us are promised tomorrow. And if I'm going to do something, I want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really do. From everything from pastoring, preaching, chaplain work, PA work, this podcast, I promise you, if I didn't enjoy doing this, I'd quit. If it ever gets to a place where I don't want to do it anymore, I'll quit it. It won't be no ifs, ands, and buts about it. I literally love what I'm doing for the first time in my life, but had to get uncomfortable to be able to do that. You said seek discomfort. That's a great way of saying it. I've been saying for a while, you got to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Sometimes doing what we do is kind of like Stacy said, it's kind of like standing on a stage naked and everybody's laughing and you don't know what they're laughing about. Mm-hmm. You just have to be able to take the hits. Mm-hmm. You take those darts, until people are tired of shooting. Eventually they're going to stop coming, and when they do, that's when people find out who you really are, and then they're terrified of you because they knew they couldn't take you out. Mm-hmm. And then you get to pick what you want. After that, you get to pick and choose your own battles. Oh yeah, I think it's wonderful. I'm tickled pink for you guys. Dawn was talking to you before she left. You don't have but a few more years, and you can go do something else if you want to. These next few years will be difficult, because you get. But once you get there, you may stay another 20 years. You don't ever know. Just depends on how much you like it.
Might pull a Miss Esslinger.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do that or not.
That's right. Man, there's been a lot of folks tuning in, and
I did see one question that I wanted Kenny to address that.
Uh-oh.
I think it was from Natalie.
Natalie who?
His daughter.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Where did she say that at? Yeah, pros and cons of coaching your baby girl. I think you might have a story for that one. I hope Riley's still on. I don't know if she is or not, but
the con, I guess, is you don't ever want anybody to think that you're showing favoritism toward your child. And with respect to the fact that what I see and value in her as a basketball player, maybe this coach wouldn't. And what I want her to do for our basketball team, maybe this coach wouldn't want her to do that. So that's probably the biggest con. The good thing for me was that from day one, Briley made her way, and she was she was tough as nails for us. I was just talking to Coach Self, which is boys basketball coach at Gunnersville, and he made the comment. He was like, "Look, you gonna miss Bradley," and he said, "I mean, you think about how she got everybody in position." He said she affected so many games without scoring a point, and he said that's valuable. He said because you're not gonna get your name in the paper if you're not one of the top 2 or 3 high point scorers. Mm-hmm. But he said she affected so many games, and she brought a toughness, to the floor, and it was like, the question, like, how many kids could even make a team at her size? And she was just always a leader for us, so that helped me out in that aspect. And I mean, they used to have signs up. She may be small, but she's feisty, and I mean, that whole group that I coached the last 3 years has just been it changed my life. Just coaching that group and I still remember when we came into Scottsboro. I thought I wouldn't be nervous, but I was nervous. I didn't feel the same. It was like a blur. I didn't want to be in there coaching against Scottsboro, to be honest with you.
And I just thrown up all night long.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an awful feeling, and we literally played with 5. We had a 6, a girl that came in that didn't play well, so that's why I say play with 5. And we had a girl hurt, and we pretty much, I mean, we didn't sub the whole game. I mean, them girls played 32 minutes, and we gave up probably, I think, 51 points. We won the game, but we went in the locker room, and I just told the team, I said, this has been a grueling week for my family. I said, I know I hit it well, and but me and Bradley and my wife, family, we thank y'all because y'all came in here and y'all had our back, and y'all played most of them 32 minutes and gave everything they had, and that was just a big ordeal, way bigger than I really expected. Like, you know, I sometimes wonder how did Nick Saban feel first time he went back into Tiger Stadium and coached against LSU that first year he was at, well, the second year he went, second year at Alabama. And, like, I just had a feeling because I coached there 7 years. I did my student teaching there. I mean, I went to school there from kindergarten through 12th grade. I played there. So it was just, can't explain it, but it was just so different than the way I felt.
And I remember when we left that night, Brad Dudley gave me the biggest hug, and he was like, I'm glad that's over. And I said, me too. Like, it was just, he knew it was just as hard on us, you know.
Yeah, and it was tough, but the pros, it was so many pros. The biggest pro was when she couldn't drive and we still lived in Scottsboro. We was riding over every day, and we counted Jeeps. And whoever had the most Jeeps by the time we got to Gunnersville High School was the winner. And I didn't cut back on my morning practices, so we'd be practicing at 5:30. So me and Bradley would be on the road at 4:45, and then I would go up to my classroom and teach the few kids that were there. And she was virtual, and she would sit in the locker room pretty much all day, you know. And she really didn't get to meet the student body because nobody was in school. So I hated that for her because she already knew everybody in Scottsboro. So that was a con. But at the end of the day, the pros outweighed the cons. We had a lot of fun days, a lot of fun stories, some moments. I got to know her more and who she really was. Just like most people have teenagers, they come in and go to their rooms, get on their phones. You ask them something, they give you one-word answers and stuff like that. Well, I got to see, like, Bradley in her natural element. My office was right there by the locker room. It's a horrible design, by the way. Offices should be outside the locker room, but the office is inside the locker room. So I could hear them talk, and I won't tell on you, Bradley, but boy, you ought to heard some of them conversations with those girls.
He told it in Sunday school Sunday, so our Sunday school class heard it all.
But they really had they had a good. She had a good experience at Gunnersville, just learning to be with a team, and not saying it was like this at Scottsboro, but just being with a team where everybody was together and there weren't any cliques. Nobody really was jealous of each other. We knew who our best player was. We worked to get her the ball. Girls screamed for her. You know, we had Bradley and a girl named Laney that sold out defensively every single night, and maybe was only going to get 4 or 5 shots, if that. So I just think it was a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. If I had to do it again, I would leave and go to Gunnersville and coach Bradley. And like, we enjoyed. Most days was good. I mean, it's a few times. I mean, it was rough.
She quit at one time.
Yeah.
Did she?
Oh, yeah, she quit me
Quit,
once.
like flat out quit.
Quit, and we had to drive home in the snowstorm.
Middle of the game.
Hilarious.
But there you go, Natalie, if you heard that.
Well, Natalie asked that because she and I had similar experiences. She, I taught her how to drive, driving me to revivals and, preaching appointments, things like that. We had a lot of fun, going. I'd make her drive to Nashville. She'd take her to a concert or something, and she'd have to drive. There was a lot of things that she learned the hard way just by having to sit and endure my lectures, But, now I catch her doing it. According to the kids that she teaches here on Wednesday night, she's got a little bit of that in her too. So it's wonderful for me. I'm glad she chimes in and asks questions because Natalie turned out to be one of those kids. Just I guess kind of like Bradley was for you. Is like if I had everything to do all over again and know how it was going to turn out for her, I'd do it the exact same way. I'd go through everything that I went through 100 times worse if I had to for things to turn out just exactly like they did. Right. Because in the end, all that uncomfortable for me, I learned things. She learned things. She had to put up with things and people talking and all the chatter, and she listened to it just like your family has to listen to it. I wish people would think a little bit more before they said stuff out loud, especially in the bleachers. I'm one of the world's worst, but I am getting better at not being so critical. Sometimes now when the ref makes a bad call, I'll just cover my eyes when it just to voice my disapproval and be like, man, you didn't see that.
I've laid off the refs a pretty good bit. I hadn't had anything with a ref, have I?
Not. Mm-mm. Of course, we've been winning, so
Yeah.
We'll see how this year goes. No, he has gotten a lot better with the refs for sure. I think we all have, and I think like you said, when you just stop and you think before you say it,
Well, these guys, I've gotten to know some of the officials for different sports now. Being on the sideline for the football team, I hear it. Things hadn't been as good as Joe would like them at North Jackson, and you hear all that. I'm sure you've heard it. Sitting at the scores table, I hear it at basketball games, and man, just the things that don't need to be said. It could be done. A lot of things could be done a lot more positively than they are, but we all need to do better, I guess, and especially me because I'm the worst of the bunch. But man, I normally ask a whole bunch of questions. I'm not going to do it because I already kept you here 2 hours. But I really appreciate you guys coming and being with me. I'd like to do it again. I'm going to do a season 2 next year. Once basketball season's over, I'm going to start back doing them.
Okay.
During basketball season, I'm just going to have to get them in when I can. It'll be sporadic, but basketball takes up so much more time than football does. So once it starts in November, I ain't going to be able to get them on every week. But after the first of the year, once basketball's over, I'd like to get you back. We can do a round 2 and talk about some other stuff.
Well, we'll do it. We'll definitely do it.
I hope you guys have fun. And this is the first time you ever been on a podcast at all?
He's been on several.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
I've never been on one, so this is my first time.
Oh, so that's why you were excited.
Yeah, I was very excited.
We didn't even let you talk.
No, y'all didn't even let me say anything hardly.
Hey, I was on a podcast one that time, and I didn't even know I was on a podcast. I thought the guy was just FaceTiming with me.
Yeah.
You started out with tell y'all's story, and boy, you just took off on his career, but we'll have to get number 2.
Yeah,
I didn't even get to Tri-Cities High School. I think I didn't even get past Daphne.
You didn't even say how you met me. I mean, we didn't go through any of that. We got a lot.
Well, how did y'all meet?
I can't remember. I'm just kidding.
Great answer. How did we meet? Are you being serious right
I mean, I know how we met.
now? God.
We met at high school, and
Yeah.
I needed to borrow a pencil.
That's correct.
And I was with Matthew Limble.
That's correct. Who is, like, we're in church with now and doing, like, it's crazy. It's crazy the way that has come around.
And, I mean, it just went from there. You saw my nice calves and nice legs, and
my gosh,
and it just went from there.
Man, I got the same story. I have the same exact story. I don't know if Dawn's still watching or not, but I do.
Oh, she is. She's laughing. I see.
I'm not even going to tell her story, but she'll say I'm making it up, but I know it to be facts. It all started at Hardee's.
Yep, she used to work there, so yeah, I can believe it.
The one on Broad Street or
No,
John T. Reed?
On John T. Reed.
Okay.
I used to go in there every night and get a monster burger with no mayonnaise. And one night I went and I saw her. And the next night I went and I don't know. She says that I made an excuse, but they left the straw out of my bag. I had to go in and get a straw. And she says that I just came in and got a straw, but she left that straw out of my bag on purpose where I'd have to come in and talk to her. I know she did.
She's saying lies,
Man,
preacher.
she can tell that, call lies on what we know that. She can tell that to the tourists. We live here. But, no, man.
Kim Hastings just said, I remember Brooke having pictures of Kenny in her Bible at church. See, I was praying for him way back then.
But the first like 2 years or 3 years we dated, it was like in secret, so it wasn't like we was together, but it was just a secret.
Yes, very much so.
You know, it was really funny. Dawn, I'm going to get stank eye when I get home about this, but I dated a girl that she was actually a relative of Dawn's. I didn't know it at the time. Took me a long time to find out, but her name was Gwen. And thank God for unanswered prayer. I'll tell you that. But one night, somebody had said something to you and about me saying I had a girlfriend named, and it was a Gwen girl. And boy, I'll never forget, you tracked me down at the fair like a bloodhound. And I mean, you was like going off on me because you and Kenny were already dating at the time, and you was just telling me up one side down the other. And I said, Brooke, what are you talking about? And you said, and then you told me what was. I said, listen, I actually have a girlfriend. Her name's Gwen.
Don't remember
and you were like,
all.
you said, oh, my bad. And walked away just as fast as you walked up. And I mean, buddy, you was letting me have it. I mean,
I can still do that.
golly.
So,
Woo, boy.
I don't remember that.
I feel
but
sorry. I mean, if she gets that feisty still, Coach, I feel sorry for her.
Oh yeah. She I can't do nothing with her. I promise you that. Hey, what did Robin say, Brooke? I'm getting old. My eyes, I can't see that.
Robin Simmons says, Mr. Hill, do you remember Camp Holder?
Yeah, I definitely remember Camp Holder. He used to live across the street from Caldwell. Me and him was in Miss Armstrong's kindergarten class together. And Camp was a big-time swimmer. This was back when swimming was really just getting started in the 80s. But I definitely, yes, Robin, I remember Camp Holder. That was my guy. And then they moved away around 4th or 5th grade. But, yeah, Camp was one of my best friends back in the day. Definitely remember him.
It's amazing that Miss Robin comes. She's one of our Sunday school teachers. She helps with children's church. Well, she does a lot of different things here for me. But they just live about 2 or 3 miles up the road here. It's funny. I still get a good laugh. Dawn said she still remembered what I was wearing. I told y'all. I told y'all. Hey. Oh, that's hilarious. But when Robin came to church here, she just showed up one Sunday morning. I wasn't here. Somebody else was here, and Miss Pam said to tell you hello. Robin said Miss Pam said to tell you hello.
Oh, tell her I said hello as well. Talking about Miss Pam Holder.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hadn't seen them in years.
Yeah, I don't know. Robin knows more people than I can even fathom. She knows everybody, seems like. But she pulled up out here, and I didn't know who she was. And somebody else talked to her and said, this lady came by. And then the next Sunday she came, and the next thing I know, she never left. And Robin was the first person that came to church here that was an active member in another church. And I remember trying to talk her out of coming, because I wanted to stay where she was at. Church is struggling so bad, for the most part, to keep people anyways. And, especially these smaller country, rural churches, it's hard to keep a group together. And I wanted her to stay where she was, but she felt so strong about coming here. All of her kids and her grandkids were coming here. And she prayed for them to all be in church with her, and they all got in church, and her mom came. And they were all coming over here. She was going somewhere else, and I felt so sorry for her. I mean, just that struggle, So when she came, I did make it hard for her. I knew how bad it was. It was weighing on her already, but man, it was wonderful. I do have one question, though. I don't like to let anybody get out of here without asking this question, because I think it's really, who are the three most influential people outside of the Lord? We all know that without him, we can't do anything. But as far as just human beings in your life, don't have to be somebody who's still alive. It can be somebody who's passed on, or but the three most influential people in your life.
We excluding parents, or you want?
You can do that too if you want.
I mean, definitely. My parents, my immediate family, and then, but also Brooke and her parents. They just demonstrate the right way to do so many things in life. That it's just, it's just amazing, And I went from early in our marriage, dang, they coming down here again, to, hey, when they coming?
Yeah.
Hey, invite your parents over. I mean, we do almost everything together now. So, it's just amazing just to see them and just see them like just a genuine married couple. What 50? Almost 50 years been married, and it's just neat to see, and it's it's refreshing to see, where they tell you, if you got a married couple here and a married couple here, one of them gonna get divorced pretty quick, and statistics say that, and it's just neat to see them and several couples in our church that been together almost 50 plus years. So definitely that has influenced me. But throughout my life, when I was coming up and I was younger, Miss Johnson, Miss Emma Johnson, my first grade teacher, me and Robert Dooley, we talk about her all the time. We had her together, and we always talk about how great of a teacher she was. Coach Kirkland, and you mentioned Miss Russell, which was a very good teacher. I had her too, but I tell you, one of the reasons that I teach science is because of Dr. Miller. He had a huge, just a huge influence in my life. So
he was a great teacher, and he was a great guy.
Great
he was
person.
Just a great man.
And I really liked Dr. Miller. And then in coaching though, Cedric Yeldon, just watching him not win early in his career, and then just becoming a winner, and now he's coaching in college. Just amazing to see him. His wife went through a battle with cancer. He stood by her side the whole time, and he's one of the first coaches that I ever coached under, and saw him down in Montgomery at Sports Week. So, that's just a few of the people that I just really admire.
That's awesome, man. How about you, Brooke?
So I was like, he covered enough. He went past 3, right?
Sometimes you can't help it.
I mean, I guess kind of like him, different areas of your life. I think they're, growing up, I think of people, and this one might kind of shock some people that I would even say this, but growing up, like Herbie Shankles we disagreed on a lot of things, but he was one of my pastors growing up. But there's a lot that stood out in my mind that I remember from him, and my Uncle Chris, listening to him preach for years. My daddy, of course, watching his selflessness, the faith that he shows, the way he puts others before himself every single time. He truly lived, Jesus, others, and then yourself. That was a big one. Lee Petty is, she's who I did my student teaching with. I know if I called her right now, she would do anything that, I needed. There's so many people. And, I even look at my own kids sometimes and, they're an influence in my life. I think they probably influence me the most because I know they're watching me at all times.
Yeah.
So I have to, remember that, they're not going to believe it because they know how I am at home, or they know what I'm doing. They know if I'm walking the walk or if I'm not. So that definitely helps influence me. And Kenny influences me in a lot of ways, and good ways. Really good ways at times, and I could just sit here and name people all day long. And Carrie Cookson McWilliams, she's my best friend, and she holds me accountable all the time. Way more than 3, but I do think we have different seasons in our lives.
Yeah.
We are influenced by people.
I could go on. I could start very early and go all the way, to as late as today about somebody who's played a part in my life. Many people, influenced me in a whole bunch of ways, but I always go back to those same, 2 or 3 people. It's been, and I'm like, Kenny and yourself. It's hard for me to exclude any of my immediate family because they've been with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Even through the good and the bad and the ugly and the pretty, they've been there, and them that's still walking with me. They've been with me. So I really wouldn't want to exclude any of them, but just people who really that I know for a fact, if they hadn't been in my life, no matter what happened, if they hadn't been in my life, things would have been different. Herbie's one of those guys, very powerful, very influential. Mm-hmm. He touched my life in a lot of different ways. But the guy who made, the preacher who made the most impact on me was Mylon Metcalf. And Mylon was the guy who never gave up on me. He stayed up late, played video games with me just so he could talk to me and tell me about Jesus and share the gospel with me. That was just the kind of guy. He's still doing that. He's now in his 60s and he's still doing that he just took a church, a small church, and he's at a season when he had a big church. He was at Huntsville Park and things were good, no reason to leave, but leaves and goes to a small church in a small community and starting all over. And he said, they actually called me for a reference for him. I didn't even know what to say, because he's the kind of guy that I would have somebody call to get a reference for. But anyway, him and Miss Russell and Coach Kirkland, those 3 people, without them, I got a pretty good idea where I'd be at without them.
I got one more that I didn't mention, and it's basketball related, and it's a player I coached. Now, listen, I've coached Red Harrison, Tavares Tolliver, big reason why we were ever even successful. I've coached Olivia Vandergrift, who's doing great at Lipscomb right now. But the one kid, and man, you might need to get him on your show one time, because I feel like when we were trying to rebuild this program, it's like, hey, you building a house, you got to have a foundation. And that foundation back in 2013 when I first got here was Matt Pace. And, Matt Pace did every single thing that you would ask of a kid. That kid never He was in the first year. He was a senior that year. He never got to play at Jacksonville. He never won an area championship. None of that. Never went to a Final Four. But the guys that came after him did. And that's what's great. Like, I see Parker Bell, and he's taking charges. I'm like, man, that was Matt Pace. I saw Matt Pace in him, and that's how that program is. But Matt Pace was just he was that guy. He stayed after practice, made every sacrifice, played one-on-one with Tavares, made him better, made Spencer better, just was a leader. I just feel like he was one of those guys. When you talk about Scottsboro basketball, we don't really need to forget that he's the one that really, when I got here, was that one kid that was going to do whatever was asked of him, and he's the one kid that played for 4 different coaches, and went through the tough times so that other guys could have good times.
Yeah, and you got to have those if you're going to have them, and sometimes you got to be the coach. You just got to know that, it is what it is. Well, guys, I appreciate it so much, you guys coming on. It's been a barrel of fun. I probably enjoyed it more than y'all have, but I look forward to the next time. And next week, Mike Ashburn, Scottsboro City Council person, will be here. The week after that is Jason Haas. Okay. And the week after that is Nita. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That'll be fun.
The next 3 weeks are going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to catching up with Coach Haas, and we're going to blister Mike Ashburn next week. He just don't know us yet. I'm just kidding.
Well, go ahead and write my question down for Mr. Ashburn and Nita Tolliver. My question is, when are we going to get us a target? Okay, that's all I want to know. Between DeKalb, Marshall, and Jackson County, one of us need a target, and I think it ought to be right here in Scottsboro.
If Scottsboro gets one, it's gonna be a mini one, like everything else we get, a mini target. But Dexter Harris tuned in right here at the end. Hadn't heard that name in quite a while.
Oh, Dexter, that's my cousin, Dexter. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys had a good time. I'm looking forward to the next time already. It's going to be a blast. Anything y'all want to say before we sign off?
No. Well, can I get some overtime pay?
Well, it's hazard pay if you're up here just on the outskirts of Stevenson. So
Actually, they moved that sign. I asked Brooke on the way up here, when did Stevenson move down into Martintown? Yeah, they just go down there and take Martintown's land?
No, they go as far as Mud Creek, right there at the entrance to the old 72. But here's the craziest thing about it is, up this highway, almost all the way up to it's about halfway between here and Crow Creek, it's still Hollywood. You get 150 foot off the road, and it's Stevenson. So this, where you're sitting at, is in Stevenson. Once you go back out to that stop sign, it's Hollywood right out there.
Well, they got a big Stevenson sign way back.
Yeah, that's because off that road, once you get off that road 150 feet, that sign is sitting right at the Stevenson line. So gotcha. They're technically not lying about it. Wow. It's actually in Stevenson. It's a pretty neat thing. It's just something to do with tax money and revenue based. I think it also had something to do with their ability to sell to eventually come this way. I think Stevenson was being a little proactive, coming down this direction. It was probably needed to happen anyway, but it is what it is.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you having us. It's been fun for sure.
It's been a blast.
Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate y'all, guys. Yeah. I appreciate everybody listening tonight. It's been great to be on one more time. Tune back in next week for Meet at the Creek. And until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. God bless you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for meeting us at the Creek, and we hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you have questions or comments you'd like for us to read, send those to mudcreekpastor@gmail.com. Again, that's mudcreekpastor@gmail.com. Thank you for meeting us at the creek, and we'll see you next time.